everybody. How are you doing on this fine Sunday evening? It's a bye week for Inter Miami, but not for FMTV. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I am Peter Brown, but as always, I am not by myself. I'm not allowed to be by myself. I can't be trusted. So we, everybody say hello to everybody's favorite Uncle Ed, and Peppa the Pig, apparently.
How's it going, Peter Brown?
Great. How was your weekend so far?
Weird because we didn't have a game, so I didn't know what to do with myself. I watched some Major League Soccer, the other teams, which was kind of refreshing, catching up on some of the other teams. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I was able to, for the first time, I've watched MLS 360 before, but just in bits and pieces. Like after an Inter Miami game, for example. But I watched it for a good chunk of the night until eventually I had to go to bed. I'm old. I go to bed early. And so, at midnight, I'm still watching this, MLS 360, and I'm like, it's time to go. But so we could discuss that a little bit. But it was fun watching all the other teams and fun watching how MLS. When you don't care about any one particular team and just watching the highlights and stuff like that, it was good. They did a good job. So that was fun. But and for anybody that's watching from out of the area, we're fine. I'm not, I don't know about you and Dade, but up here in Broward, I'm getting hit up by people from all around the world saying, "Are you guys okay? Are you okay?" Because there's reports of it flooding everywhere, and because all the rain on Thursday and Friday, and there's massive floods, but that I think that's mostly east where I am. It's completely fine, no flooding whatsoever. I'm sure in Miami it's probably okay as well, right? Ed?
Yeah, it rained a lot, but it wasn't as bad as I think it was up there in Fort Lauderdale. I did see huge lines at gas stations for some reason. I guess. Because they stopped coming down here because of the flooding,
right?
With the gas. So, but I was fortunate enough to fill up my tank before all this shenanigans happened. So we're good. We're good down here in Miami, Peter Brown. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, there's
for being concerned.
A little bit of a gas shortage up here as well, and my daughter and wife were just up in Tampa watching get Taylor Swift. And so I was telling them, before you get back down to South Florida, gas up, just in case. Anyways. Right. So we got a fun show tonight. We're gonna start off tonight talking about Houston, and then we're gonna shift and just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about in the chat. And so in just a minute, we're gonna talk to our friend Bruno from Houston Dynamo Dynamic, is that what it's called, Ed?
Dynamic Dynamo.
That's it. It's a long name, but it's but good guy doing a podcast in Houston. So we're gonna get the lowdown on what's going on with Houston. Do we have a chance against Houston? I mean, they're not the best team either, but from what I understand, they haven't given up any goals in their stadium. So it's going to be a tough game. We're going to get into a lot of that. But before we do that, let's say thank you to our sponsor, and that is Caneswear. Everybody needs to go and buy all their Inter Miami gear at Caneswear. Go support a local business located in Davie, Florida, just south of 595 on University Drive. If you're headed south from Miami to Drive Pink Stadium in the coming weeks or what have you, stop by Caneswear on your way and pick up Inter Miami gear. It's they got all the new fashions, everything you want. Great prices, better prices than what you'll find in the stadium. So as always, thank you to Caneswear. Before we get to Bruno, Ed, who's in the chat that we should say hello to?
Well, Peter Brown, the first human being that showed up was Chris Menendez. How you doing, Chris? Always supporting us. We also have our good friend Richard Greenberg, who I saw in a cool picture with Dwayne De Rosario, one of the best Canadian players ever.
He also went to a Blue Jays game last week. He's getting all his sports in. And from
he's getting around.
A warm Toronto? Huh.
Wow. Well, it's probably in the 50s or something.
Yeah, warm to him is like we're bundled up.
That's T-shirts for him. So.
Yeah.
One of our other good friends in Atlanta, a new Wiseman. We got a game coming up against Atlanta soon too.
Yeah.
And we got our friend Sports Shorts. That's a cool name right there.
I like that
Sports
name.
Shorts.
He's been with us for a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And B King, he's hurting about that, but he's losing Bryce, I think.
I got to tell you, with the Bryce trade, and we'll talk more about that in the second half of the show, but, I thought about putting Duke on the back of my jersey. I'm glad I didn't.
You were that close.
I'm so happy I didn't do that.
Yeah, that would have hurt. One World, One Goal. She's one of our oldest followers, and we've known her for a long time. I'm not saying that you're old, but she supported us for a very long time. Our good buddy Carl Toppin.
When I see this name Toppin, I can't help but think of Toppins from Mary Poppins.
Yeah, and our friend Andres Castañeda, he is very happy, and I am too because of that fact. It makes sense. We didn't play, so we didn't lose. And talk about good friends. Good old Patrick Barnhill is also watching us live. He usually doesn't get a chance to watch us till after, but I know I think he's from up there in Oregon or Oregon. So yeah, I saw that Timbers game too. It was incredible. We'll talk about that in a bit as well. And I think that's it for now, Peter Brown. Most everybody is talking and on the chat.
All right.
But yeah, that game against Seattle was incredible.
All right, and as always, I didn't mention it before, but if you want to leave a voicemail, we'll get to your voicemails in the second half of the show, 786-474-4435. I've got a couple voicemails ready to go, so if you want to add to that, we'll get to those in the second half of the show. But Ed, so 5-game losing streak, made some changes. Now we're headed to Houston. I don't remember the last time we've won on the road, but it certainly wasn't this year. And
it sure wasn't.
This is going to be a challenge, and to learn more about what this challenge is going to be, everybody, please give a warm welcome to Bruno in Houston.
Our live audience supporting.
Everybody.
Bruno Baltazar. I'll tell you, Bruno. So your name, when I read it, I thought, now that's a cool name. That's a cool name. And then I started thinking about it. That's a name of like an evil bad guy from, say, a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Or say, with that name, Bruno Baltazar, I expect you to be tying up some girls on the train tracks with your curly mustache and doing that. That is an awesome, evil, dastardly name, which is perfect since we're playing you and you're the bad guys.
Hopefully I'm the villain this week around.
Hopefully
it's better than calling me Pete Davidson, which a lot of people apparently think there's a resemblance, especially when I let my hair grow again. But
there is a resemblance. I hadn't thought about that. Oh my God, you just said it. Holy cow.
Nah, man.
Hooking up with Kardashian and all that? Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
That's me. The other one is the fake one, yeah. That's what it is. The real Pete Davidson is here.
Yeah, some comments on your name already. There is a Baltazar Getty actor, and then from our friend up in
Lucas is also saying.
Yeah, no, that's Bruno. Not it. But I am single, so yeah.
Wait, this isn't Pete Davidson?
I have the Kardashian curse, then I guess.
Hey man, I think things are going pretty good for Pete Davidson. So it's not the worst thing to be compared to.
No, I guess so, man. I never thought he was that good looking, but I guess I have to redefine what a good looking man is after all.
There you go. There you go.
For my own ego, I guess.
So it was a bye week for Inter Miami, but not for Houston. Houston played New York Red Bulls minus their one guy for some racist comments. And you guys were also missing big news. You guys were also missing one of your star players, your DP, a Mexican DP, right? He was sitting on a red card. So ended up with a tie 1-1. How do you think your team is looking so far this season?
Very inconsistent. I mean, I think that the Dynamo also had a week off because they didn't show up yesterday. To be honest with you, man, if you see the first half, it was one of the worst first halves of soccer I've seen. There was no energy, and the game was delayed 30 minutes because it was
right
in the area. But it's a tale of two teams, one at home versus the one at away games. It was the first time we got points on away games. Every single other game was a defeat. And obviously we are undefeated at home, but it's a team that is feeding off a lot from the fans. That feels very comfortable at home, but away it just doesn't have. There's so many strategy and tactic formations that the players deviate throughout the game that allows other teams to use the space that they had even yesterday. I mean, we are missing our best key player, Hector Herrera, the Mexican national team player.
I was trying to remember his name.
People have no clue how important it is. I mean, it's not even sometimes what he does, it's just how much of a coach he is on the field. And yesterday, I saw there were so many players misplaced throughout the entire game that oftentimes I see him pulling the younger players, especially the ones that just joined the team. And I mean, keep in mind, we have 15 new players that were not there last season. So this is almost like an entire new team. We have a new head coach too, in Ben Olsen, coming from the East Coast. And so we are still signing new players, even though it's more role players. And Eric Sviatchenko is supposed to be the leader on our defense, but he has not played any single minute because he was waiting on the visa. And apparently, I mean, he just said today he's in Canada because apparently he finally got called for to get the work visa, and he had to go all the way to Canada just to get the interview to be able to speed up the process.
Happens.
But this team is I mean, yesterday, man, we allowed so many shots. We created no chance of goal in the first half. There was nothing.
Good.
And then we go on.
I mean,
kill this.
Talking about that evil mustache.
Man, I mean, I guess I will be your hero because if we play the way we played this past week, I mean, we are easy prey for y'all.
Well, I don't know about easy prey. I mean, Ed, right? I mean, we can't score either. We haven't been able to score. This may be if it's anything like the Red Bulls game, this could be a very boring game of a lot of possession in the midfield from both teams with not a lot of attack.
Mm-hmm.
I think both teams play similar. To be honest with you, I just wrote the scouting report for Inter, and you guys play very similar, playing all the way from the back, and try to slowly press the team up forward, the other team up forward, and then try to take advantage of those spaces that the lines are being used. And that's kind of what the Dynamo likes to do as well. I mean, I think the motto this year is let's try to not suffer goals, and then if maybe we get a penalty, we can win this game. And if you really look at the games, I mean, Bassi, our top scorer, I think he has 4 goals off PKs so far this season. So it's rare to see a Dynamo game, especially at home, where penalties don't exist. And so far this season, that's the only way I've been primarily seeing them able to score. It's via penalties, and it kind of tells you how much lack of creativity we have on our last end of the field. And our best striker, our best finisher, doesn't even play anymore. Sebas is not even playing, and now that's the topic of debate. Why isn't this guy playing? The reason why he's not playing is because Van Olsen, our coach, wants a striker that applies pressure, high pressure from the get-go, from up front. But Sebas is a finisher. He's going to be lazy. He's not. Don't expect him to pressure up top. And Ben Olsen is willing to sacrifice opportunities of goals to play defense already with the strikers. And this team is not going to pressure as much as, for example, New York does, which is they're really good at high pressuring. We're not gonna necessarily do that. We're going to pressure, but we're going to make sure that we pressure knowing that we have enough numbers on the back to be able to not have a counterattack on us. So I think that the Dynamo this season has been able to pull up more wins than ever before, because last year, for example, it was fun to watch. We dominated the games, but we always lose them. Right. And this year, it's the opposite. It's going to be boring. It's going to be ugly, but we're going to try to at least not suffer any goals. And that's kind of like at home it's been working, and why it's not been working at all. And then in the 68th minute, yes, they comes in, and we finally bulk up the midfield. taking Bassi, which is a short player, and then putting Alferson, which was a taller player, because we were losing all the 50-50 balls in the air yesterday. We're losing them all. And lack of aggressivity, whatever you want to call it. I don't think it's even about how tall these players are. It's just they're not aggressive. And then we put Alferson. The ball gets over the air. He's able to win that 50-50. The ball rebounds, and then it's a counter attack. And out of nowhere, we score the first goal, and now we up 1-0 on a game that we should have been down 3-0, to be honest with you. I mean, we finished the game with 3 shots, which has been not far off from what we've been averaging, to be honest with you. But we suffered 16 shots against us. And we just got lucky that Steve Clark, our goalie, did probably one of the best games in his entire career yesterday. And that's, you might have called, I think I said it, you might call it not Steve Clark, but what is the Superman's name, Steve? Well, Clark Kent. Might as well call him Clark Kent up there in New York, man. Shining more than Batman up there in Gotham City, and that's and that's why
Metropolis.
Yeah, but he went to New York because the game was in New York. So that's why it's Gotham City. Yeah, there you go. See the villain, the anti-hero. Yeah,
Yeah. You know where the bad guys like to hang out.
I see what you did there. Bruno, what's your take on? I already heard you talk a little bit about Ben Olsen. As a matter of fact, Richard Greenberg in the chat was talking about how Ben was a terrible manager with DC for many years. What's your take on Ben Olsen?
I think he's a terrible human. A human.
Wow! Whoa! Terrible human.
Let me finish. No, like a HR, human resources individual. I don't think he necessarily knows too well how to handle with the reporters. I think he's very, very concise, very close-minded, a little bit rude sometimes when he doesn't like certain questions. I mean, even yesterday, one of our biggest reporters up here asked him again against Sebas, can you tell us why he doesn't even deserve a minute? And he's like, this is the only, and his answer was, this is the only question you ask me all the time. It's the same question over and over and over and over. And it's like, man, don't be so close-minded, man. Like just answer the question in a nice way. And I think the way he handles some of the things on a human resources style, it's some that I don't know. It's a little bit old school. It's too strict. And I think that sometimes translates not just to the fans, but a little bit to the media. And I can only imagine in the locker room, right? It's that tough fist type style of coaching, right? And he's very defensive. I mean, in defensive on the field too. The team that he puts is defense first, and who cares about the product that we have as long as we get some points here. And to be honest with you, I mean, I'm going to take it because Houston has been awful in recent seasons. And I believe that this style will work enough to slide into the playoffs.
Man.
And it's been working so far.
When was the last time Houston was good? I mean, when they first moved to Houston? I mean, I think that was the last time when you guys first moved to Houston, and
they got a couple championships.
Yeah,
right in the early days.
The first 2 seasons we pulled 2 championships, so 6 and 07 the first 2 years, and then after that, it's been downhill since then.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys have also, similar, I think, to how South Florida, we sometimes struggle with getting fans in the stands. I mean, I watched the Houston games, and I think it's at least from what I've seen, it looks like a nice stadium. And quite often, I could see all the seats because they're kind of empty. There's not a lot of people in the stands quite often, and so they look very nice seats and a very kind of questionably, I remember when they were playing in this one stadium that was like in between, like, the one before you guys built your own stadium, and it had a good crowd. But you guys have struggled to keep a solid fan base in Houston, coming in and game out. Maybe it's because you guys have been bad for a long time. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, and you mentioned the first years was the University of Houston stadium, right. And it made sense at the time because it was a stadium and he was at a college, so he made a whole lot of sense. And even truly, if you really look, I mean, it was a decent crowd, but it wasn't like it was full or anything like that. And
looked
I think
good on
that
TV.
A lot of and nowadays it's going to look even better if you look at they changed the seats now. They're not just orange; they are very colorful. And to be honest with you, they're nice. They mesh They mash material seats, and it makes sense because in the summer over here it gets very hot.
That's
very
what
humid.
Austin did. Austin did the same thing.
So it works perfectly. But if you're watching it at home, it's hard to tell if it's full or it's just different colors of chairs. And to be honest with you, that's why they also did it. To camouflage a little bit the lack of attendance.
Sure.
And it's been a mix. I mean, we had a game this season at home where we had 12,000 fans, and the stadium rotation is 22,000. And then we had a game against Galaxy where we piled up over 19,000, and it's almost.
So maybe it depends on who's coming to town.
Exactly. And I mean, you're going to see when LAFC comes, it's going to be jam-packed because it's, everybody wants. And that's the problem over here is these. I think, and when Herrera came last year, everybody wanted to be there, and then the team started losing. I mean, they kept losing. I don't want to say started because they were already losing before he got there. And they started losing, and then the people that were the Instagram people just take a selfie and put it online because this is cool. They no longer wanted to be associated with some team that it was losing, right? But I think that the main issue here that comes in place is that we have such a large Hispanic fan base here, And I mean, I went to this past summer. Man City came over here and he played against Santos Laguna, and there's over 70,000 people down there, and most people were Hispanics that were in the stadium. So it's not necessarily that these people don't watch soccer, because they are watching soccer. And the price, I'll be honest with you, this is one of the cheapest ways to watch soccer in MLS. I mean, an average ticket, it can cost you about, for $18, you can be there in the supporter section, and it's a very good seat. So you can't tell me that money is the issue. But I will tell you what might be the issue too, is that the stadium is basically downtown, across the street from the baseball stadium, the Astro Stadium.
Right.
And a lot of people that like soccer don't live necessarily downtown Houston.
That's strange that you say that, though, because that's one of the things that MLS is really pushing is for those downtown stadiums, because they think that the downtown stadium is really the secret to success. But here you're saying in Houston, it's not the same.
It's not. And you have to understand what market you are. If it's up north, it makes sense. But over here, it doesn't make sense. I mean, a lot of people are living in the suburbs. And a lot of people that love soccer live in the suburbs, because that's a lot of the minorities that are influencing their kids to go to high school to play, things like that. And so it's tough to really make proudness of something when they feel like at least they are away from the community. And over here, I mean, I drive, I'm outside, I am in Houston technically, but I have to drive about 40 minutes. And then sometimes when the Astros play, I get stuck with the commute, and then they share the parking lot with the Astros, and the Astros right now are a bigger ticket compared to the ticket that we have here.
Because they're good.
Yeah. But I remember when they were that awful,
Yeah.
And I mean, for $10 they could feed me peanuts up there, for free and unlimited booze or whatever, That's, but nowadays they're good, so everybody wants to be part of the bandwagon. But I think that the problem is that we have to, and I alluded to this before we got live, but it's, for example, we have a few podcasts, right? But all these podcasts over here, and there's some teams that don't even have weekly podcasts, okay?
We know, yeah.
And but the Dynamo has podcast, so there's some people that are still interested in talking about it, and there's definitely listeners about it. But you tell me, I can't find one that does a podcast in Spanish.
That's crazy.
So now you're starting to understand that the people that actually go to the stadium are people that are not necessarily, even though I see it. There's a lot of Hispanics in the stadium. Don't get me wrong.
But they mostly look like me.
But yes. Because they feel like the only audience that the Dynamo is targeting, and this can go from the PR standpoint, this can be whatever it is, but it starts off with that is just kind of geared more towards the European soccer lover, or European descent, or someone that got married to someone that comes from a country that watches soccer, or someone that played FIFA by accident when they were younger, and now this is the thing that I follow through. Instead, but the true money is bringing these people that watch they would rather watch the Mexican League on a small TV at home, bring them to the stadium. The tickets are only $20 a piece or less.
Sure.
And actually involve these people. And many things can be done, even culturally. There's no Hispanic songs a lot of times. I don't hear it in the stadium playing. I sometimes there is, but sometimes there isn't.
For example, that all surprises me a lot, because here with Inter Miami, it's a complete opposite. They are tailoring it 100% to the Latino community, and then you have Americans that feel a little bit left out sometimes. Like, you're not going to hear an English song being chanted by the supporters. They're all Spanish. But so it's a complete opposite. But at the same time, we are such a Latino area. It kind of makes sense. I'm okay with being a minority, right, in this area. But look, Houston should be no different. Maybe not so much Argentinian and things like that, but definitely pro-Mexican. And I'm shocked that the team doesn't focus their branding a little more towards the Mexican community. I mean, that seems like a huge miss on the ownership. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones to blame.
Well, I mean, we just got a new ownership about 2 years ago, and they're trying to. They did.
They got a lot of things to fix.
Yeah, but what they're fixing is more. I don't.
They fixed the logo, which was weird because the logo was fine the way it was.
Man, most people don't like the new logo, because they say they don't represent nothing. It's just a bunch of straight lines that
looks like a baseball logo. Looks like a baseball. Yeah. Looks like home plate almost.
When a new owner comes, they have to change everything so they can rebrand and resell.
They got to put their stamp on it.
Yeah, and but the thing is, a lot of owners in the MLS, they care more about, let me sit on this for 5-10 years. I don't care about investing too much, or neither about wins. And I'm going to change the stadium. I'm going to make renovations on my real estate that I own. And then I'm going to sit on these, lose a few bucks every year. And then eventually in 10 years, this is going to be worth more. And I'm going to sell it. And I mean, our owner is sometimes involved, but I don't see him at the games. So and I think that's a problem. When you don't see the owner in the stands, then how can I tell as an owner to make my media relation? And I'm not like pooping on these people, but it's like, how can I make my people tell them, hey man, the community's relationship, and I actually know the lady that does it, and she's amazing at it. But I don't, it's not geared towards the more diverse community. And I'm looking at the chat over here, and some people are saying that down there it's $5 for parking. Over here is $40.
Oh no! It's she's comparing that conversation is comparing to the back in the old Miami Fusion days. It is $30 to park. It is not cheap.
Yeah. But think about this. But it's downtown Houston. Why don't we over here move these down? For example, in Katy, it's very soccer. It's very high school soccer driven, and kids will go down there because if you have kids as a parent, you have to do whatever your kids want to do, right? And so they are your piggy bank, basically. They're holding your money hostage, and you have to break it every time they want to do something. And why not putting a little bit outside? And then the parking lot can be cheaper because honestly, you're not sharing with the Astros. And now you closer to a community that is closer to towns that are cheaper, therefore where these Hispanic communities can have a smaller commute. And now you throw them out there with players into events. And another thing that I hear from complaining is that pre-COVID, a lot of this team was really out there. They were in the community. They were very easy, accessible, the players and things like that. And now post-COVID, apparently they are closing in the team away from everybody. And I mean, I just bought a collection from game used jerseys from the Dynamo for dirt cheap, a lot of them. And I asked the guy, why are you selling them? And he was like, man, I still got season tickets and everything, but every single jersey I got was free, but now I have to buy them online on Fanatics or whatever. And because now I just don't feel like this matters much because this team is not out there like it used to be with the fans. And I think that's the problem, where if we are not winning, people are not going to be really interested in it. But if we are winning, like every other town, like every other sport, then everybody's going to be there. So we have the community over here that is a soccer community, but they'll rather stay at home and watch European leagues, whatever it is, than really make a family-friendly event by going to the stadium. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame. But also, to be honest with you, this season, it's not a very eye-appealing style of game that we do.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, from everything I've heard, I mean, at home, you guys are looking good. From what I remember, is you guys having given up a goal at home. So bringing it back to this coming weekend's game against Inter Miami, Oh, what do you think? What do you think it's going to look like? I mean, we talked a little bit that it might be boring. I know you had mentioned before you're a soccer coach, so give us that coach's perspective on what do you expect to see from Inter Miami. I know you said you did a breakdown on your website about this game in Inter Miami, so give us your coach report on what you think this weekend's game might look like.
I think it's going to look a little bit like the first 60 minutes of the game that the Dynamo played against the LA Galaxy. Like Miami likes to possess the ball, pass heavily, especially from the back. You guys, I think you guys are 10 in the league with highest accurate passing. So you guys are, really up there. You guys like to do that. Both teams are similar in many statistics. They have the same amount of corners. Both teams allowed 8 goals so far in the season. Obviously, we allowed all these goals away from our home. But and it looks amazing when you really look at it. It just looks amazing that, okay, this team must be amazing because they have not conceded a goal at home and they just won every single one of them. But in every single game, there was something that happened against the tide of the game that changed completely the outcome of the game. Against Galaxy claims a penalty in the 38th minute of the game, okay? And the referee calls a penalty, okay? And then the player has the ball on the penalty mark. Everybody's lined up. And then all of a sudden, he gets called by the VAR to check it. And then he checks it, and he's like, it's not a penalty. And then all of a sudden, the momentum of the game shifts completely. Because at that moment, at the 38th minute of the game, the Galaxy was really playing much better than the Dynamo. And then after that, we eventually scored the goal, and then Galaxy is now a mess. So, and then eventually they got red cards left and right. And then it was fun to watch when we scored the first goal because it became a broken game, okay? So it's important because I have not been confident yet in a single game before the game started to tell you that we're definitely going to win these. I have not been, and I'm not going to come to this game either against Seattle and say that, oh, we're definitely going to win because you guys are just trashed the last 5 games. I'm not necessarily convinced of that. And I think that you guys sign new players that are bulking up the defense, to really close in the gaps that you guys are displaying in the midfield.
We're hoping.
Everybody's been open in the midfield and everybody's taking advantage of it. You guys struggle, I think, a little bit with the balls over the air because you guys are dead last with, for example, percentage of duels won over the air. I think you guys have like 36% winning.
We're short.
So you guys... Yeah, you guys lose them all, which the Dynamo, we just struggled this past week with the same situation. So that's not going to be necessarily something that we love to do crosses. We love to win corners. That's something we like. And then we use Herrera to take the amazing corners. He's an amazing free kick taker as well. So we use him a lot to be able to take advantage on those. So it's not necessarily that we are taller than anybody else. It's just that the ball falls in the right spot. And we, I think that, you guys have been morphing a little bit with some tactics, and I think the last game you guys changed the tactic a little bit because you guys were short on the players, but, I think that, for example, if we did the same thing that, for example, New York CFC did against Seattle, which is pressing higher, and from the get-go, I think you guys are going to struggle. And I mean, you guys missing Gregore. I mean, that to me, there was the shift of your entire season.
Yeah, we're hoping we've replaced him at least on the short term with this new what is he, Ecuadorian, Ed?
Dixon Arroyo. Yeah. We're hoping that that's going to change things, but I don't know. I guess he had a week to train with the team. I don't know if he's going to start. He'll probably start, I imagine. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I would imagine if he's fit, he'll start. So we need the help.
Yeah, another thing I noticed with Yali is that defensively, you guys tend to shift the 2 back lines. So, for example, you compact the 4-4, those 2 4 lines, the last 4, so the 8 players and the gap between these 2 lines. You guys tend to shift it so close together that's what creates those gaps in the middle. And then whenever the ball is added, you guys do a terrible mistake. If the ball is on the left side, the entire line shifts very closely to that side, which leaves the second post completely wide open. And then when you have a playmaker that just switches sides fast, that's where the spaces are going to be.
And then when another coach from another team says that, our coach doesn't like it. That was pointed out by, I forgot who said it, but it was pointed out by another coach. And I don't know, was that Ezra Hendrickson that said it?
Ezra Hendrickson, yeah.
When we played Chicago, he called that out, and Phil Neville didn't really appreciate that, but it's true.
Phil Neville thinks he's better than Ezra.
Oh God, how many weeks are you going to use that same joke? Nobody gets it. Only me. I'm the only one that gets it.
Bruno gets it, right? It's that band in the 90s.
He didn't get it, Ed. He's just laughing because you're funny. You're funny looking.
Like you sound good, but anyways.
Because you sound good, I don't know what you're saying, but
I know Bruno, the other singer, but I don't know. I don't think he's that funny. But he can pull some girls though. But anyways, yeah. And so I think like Herrera, for example, that's another thing we struggled. And I mentioned this past week we have Bassi, which has been a good player for us, but he sometimes goes too much where the ball is. And as a guy that is supposed to be the number position 8, 9. When it comes down too much, then there's no passing line up front. And in previous games, Herrera, throughout the entire game, would often come to him and tell him, hey, man, you way too back over here. So we got this up here. You stay there, because if you don't stay there, then when I get the ball, I have no passing lane to start the counter. And that's something that I think Herrera might be the biggest playmaker of this entire game coming up. This guy is very well experienced and can take advantage of those changes of the field from left to right and take advantage of that. That's something that if you guys can neutralize as much as that first pass from Herrera, that's going to be key for y'all. He likes to combine a lot with Artur. Artur is our position number 5. So when he's always going to be most likely the guy that gets the ball from the back 4. And he tries to do the transition from defense to offense. He's been having an amazing season. I probably want to say he's the strongest player this season for the Dynamo side from Herrera, obviously. And he combines with Herrera, and that's how we make the transition defense offense. And that's going to be something very key. I mean, you guys got Mota, which I think is I think y'all's strength on the shooting skills at least. So I think that for the Dynamo standpoint, just making sure that he doesn't have a clear shot might be important to do. And I mean, our goalie is not bad. Steve Clark, well-experienced player, so he's not bad. From our standpoint of it, I think that Bird and Coco Carrasquilla, if they stand more up front and wait for the balls to come up there, I think it's going to really make you guys struggle on the counters because you guys like to just possess the ball. So that's going to be something that it might be really like one of the downfalls for y'all. But it just depends on that, And I was looking at some of the data and stuff. And Mota also offensively is the one that does the crosses and is the one that covers longer distances with the passes most of the games. But it starts off with Kritsov. Kritsov on the back is usually the guy that kind of is like your brains on the defense, right? And is the more player that looks more comfortable with the processes from the back, at least trying to break the lines for y'all.
Bruno, our original Bruno Panizzo is saying Bruno 2, which is you, saying Phil's tactics are too predictable. What do you speaking of predicting, different way of using the word, but what do you predict the score to be at the end of the game?
I think that you guys signed a big player that he didn't mention with Kamal Miller. I think that player is going to be key in this game, especially on the wings. I wouldn't be surprised, and I guess this is my fan speaking more than my.
You have to. That's what you're here for.
I probably would say that it might be, ideally thinking, I think that might be a 2-0. I won't be surprised if the Dynamo, if they can swing that the first goal, I won't be surprised if things get broken a little bit, because when we score the first goal, we have a tendency to be able to score the second goal. Because when the other team starts coming a little bit more forward, then that's when we can use the spaces to be able to counter and produce a second goal and just kill the game. I won't be surprised if it was 2-0 for us. just because we have an ego, we have a certain confidence at home that is much different in a way, and because you guys are a little bit predictable. I'll be honest with you. You are predictable. And even with the starting 11, I think that, okay, now you sign new players, but I won't be surprised if they get plugged in right away, because he seems desperate, and he knows the fan base is claiming for changes. Yeah, and so I think both of those two players that you sign are starting, because that's what you guys demand, and that's what he's going to do. And they don't know their teammates yet. Just having less than a week or a week, it's not enough to really know the movements and things like that. So you guys are going to be a work in progress. So I believe that we can. And Herrera is a veteran, but he didn't play last game, so he's going to be rested as well for the Dynamo. I think that a 2-0 will not surprise me winning at home.
All right.
And sending you guys in the gutter even further.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I don't like to hear what you're saying, but you may not be wrong. Bruno Baltazar of Houston Dynamic Dynamo Podcast. How can people follow you if they want to check out what your podcast sounds like and what you guys are doing over there in Houston? How can everybody follow you?
Yeah, so if you go to Houston Dynamic Dynamo.godaddysites.com, you go down there and I have links for everything from the social media to the podcasts to video conversations. I don't call it interviews. I think everything is just a video conversation. But on the left side, as you can see on the screen, you got all those tabs over there. You can see the weekly podcast you can click, and then you can open up to all the platforms. There's interviews and there's new articles. And if you actually click on the news article, I think I already uploaded Yao's scouting report. So if you want to read more a little bit about the weekly articles, that's where you're going to be able to find, there you go. That's where you find the strategy. And this is exactly the diagrams from Yao's loss against FC Dallas.
Nice.
Exactly nice. Ball possession, passes, all that stuff, and statistics from the game. And then I try to break down to something for someone that never saw soccer before. And for those who know soccer, then you can analyze those. Because I like, it's kind of like a research article, right? I like to not just throw stuff without proving it. That's what I'm saying. And that's what you can find.
Awesome. Well, Bruno, you are a wealth of knowledge. I really appreciate it. You went way more technical than we're used to on this show because we're just a couple of numbnuts that like our team. But you are awesome. Really appreciate your time. And, continue with your dastardly ways with that name. I mean, that's an amazing name. And, hopefully it's a good game this weekend for whatever the final it ends up being. But hopefully it's a fun game. So thanks so much for spending some time with us. And, good luck on Saturday.
Sounds good. Hey, best of luck for y'all. I really like what you guys do. And, I do hope that you guys win every game, but not this week.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks a lot, Bruno. We'll see you later.
Good, Bruno. Take care.
All right.
Wow, Bruno knows his stuff. Well, he's a coach too, Peter.
Yeah, he was a coach. He was telling us in the beginning. He can go way deeper than what we would normally do, and that was good.
Yeah, we're like stick figures. This guy passes to this guy and goal.
We're just like as far as we're usually just like, hey, we really just like the team, okay, and we're hoping they win. We know they suck, but we're hoping they win. That's really our report.
Well, Peter, talk about our hopes of winning. We lost 2 players this week. That's what I really wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
What is your take? I mean, your boy, man, you were going to get a jersey. And thank goodness you didn't.
So I saw some mixed reactions. I saw a lot of reactions on the old interwebs of people like saying this was the dumbest move for Miami. We don't need more defenders. We need people in the attack. We need a central midfielder, which we all know. And this was just a stupid trade and all that. I saw so many Inter Miami fans saying that, right? And then from the flip side, when you listen or read the comments from people that are not affiliated with Inter Miami, and they're all like, what the hell was Montreal thinking? They give away a very good defender who has had a bad year. They've given away a very good defender, though, for 2 players that are, Ari Lassiter, he's okay, right? He could score a decent goal once in a while, but he's not Nothing. I mean, he's trade bait always. And Bryce Duke, a lot of people have a lot of hope for, myself included. And like, what was it, $1.2 or $1.3 million in GAM? And everybody's like, what the hell was? I mean, basically, that's a lot of money they gave away for 2 bench players, basically.
Right. And, well, I don't know. I think Bryce, he's, I think he was underused by our coach. I mean, he tried to put him in a position that wasn't his. So obviously he wasn't shining anymore. He should be playing as a 10 because that's his natural position.
And he is now. He was given, and right away, he was given the number 10 in Montreal. And you don't just give away the number 10. That means, to me, they think this kid could be something as a 10. And so you're asking me, like, what I think of the trade. I was on board with it. I have no problem with the trade. And even though, as much as I like Bryce Duke, if we're not going to use him properly, and we're going to say, because what Neville told him was, we're always going to have a DP as a 10 in this club. And they're trying to get messy, so we're hoping for that. And so if you want to have a career with this club, you better learn a different position. We want you to learn the 8. And that's not his skill set. So we were watching him on the job training. So if you're not going to use the player properly, and you could get a $1.2 or $1.3 million a GAM for him, because I look at Ari Lassiter just kind of throw in. He's just a throw in.
Right.
They really paid for Duke.
Right.
I think it's a smart piece of business. They got themselves more room to buy a player, buy a couple of players in the summer. They created more GAM, for that. And this is, I think, a great move by Chris Henderson. What was this defender, the player that we really need? I don't know. I mean, we still can't score, but maybe we won't give up as many goals. What do you think, Ed?
The way it looks to me like we might actually play with a line of 5 in the back with two wingers on each side. Well, not wingers, I'm sorry, as defenders, but pretend defenders, as I like to call them. So we're probably going to have that line of 3 in the back, with Miller and with McVeigh and Christoph. I
think that makes complete sense, because you've got our 2, our left and our right defenders, that love to go up top. They love to go up, and sometimes they get stuck up, and it leaves like McVeigh in a bad position trying to cover a couple different positions. When Yedlin's way up there, that's happened a couple times. So now you've got an extra defender in the back when those 2 guys are playing. They're playing more as midfielders. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and they're always having to come back. Yellen's having a tough time coming back to defend. This way one of them could go up, the other one could stay down. If Negri doesn't go up, if Yedlin goes up, Negri will stay down, and so on. So we'll have that extra player that won't have to run all the way back and be able to cover one of the sides. I think that's important. We got that new player that they signed, Peter Brown. Dixon Arroyo. Ecuadorian. Arroyo. He's Ecuadorian. From mixed reviews from social media. A lot of people from Emelec, which is the team he's coming from, are very hurt that he's leaving. They call him a mercenary. There's the word out there was saying that they hadn't paid him, but then there's conflicting stories. Which, by the way, Peter Brown, tomorrow I'm going to talk in my Spanish show with John Lester Hidrovo. That's his name. He's a what's it called? He's one of the guys. He's on TV in Ecuador. He's an actual journalist, and he's gonna tell us his take on is this guy good enough or bad. Plus, he's gonna talk about Campana. So he's from the Ecuadorian. He's in the sports with Ecuador, so he's gonna tell us what's up. As good. Far as is Arroyo that good? In the conversation that I had with him, in WhatsApp, he was telling me that Arroyo actually plays as a 5. So it's going to be interesting, man, because I think we're really looking for an 8, right?
I think so.
How are we going to do this?
I don't know.
Get Mota up there. How's it going to work?
I don't know. I don't know. Let's get Bruno back.
I know, right? That's going to be interesting to see. But
looking at the chat, I don't want to ignore the chat tonight. Louis Rodriguez is saying, I don't understand why renew a player, then trade him. That lets you know that you don't have a plan for this club. I don't know if I agree with that statement, because that's just sports business. That's just business. They sign him for in a contract. You tie him up, and even if you're gonna trade him, the fact that he's traded with a 3-year contract, that means that Montreal know that they have him for 3 years. With our guy, this guy Lamar Miller, he's on his last year of the contract. There's an option, so we may have him for another season after that, but he's on the tail end of his career, of his contract. And so, I think having the player with a longer contract is good trade bait. You know that he's set at a certain dollar amount for this amount of years. You know you don't need to renegotiate that contract shortly after obtaining the player. You know he's going to make X amount of dollars for these years. We're good. We know what we're getting for that amount of time. So I think that's just part of of business. It's the dirty side of sports, if you will. Also, 1 minute they're saying we love you, you're the future of the club, and meanwhile at the same time that they're shaking your hand and doing that, they are shopping you. Because don't think this was some deal. At least I don't think that this was some deal that just came out of nowhere. I mean, I think every player is, other than maybe a few, are on the market, right? We're not winning, so every player is up for sale. So I don't think it was necessarily a bad move.
I think they were also thinking this kid's got future. Let's tie him down for a little bit. And from what I understand, Inter Miami still has certain rights over him. So if the player gets sold, he's young enough. Yeah. He's young enough to go to a different club. Inter Miami's still going to make some money off of him. And I think that's why they also locked him down. They figured they're going to make some bucks down the road as well. And they think he's probably going to mesh well with Montreal. Montreal's betting on him.
They lost against DC, so it didn't work this weekend. But Louis continues. Louis saying, and because I agree with this, Duke will be another Carranza killing it for another club. Probably. That is what happens with our players, right? But my biggest beef with the trade is, why do we trade him to another Eastern Conference club? Let's trade him to a Western Conference club, a team that we only see once every few years, not a team that we see twice every year, guaranteed. I would prefer they send him to the West side, but
right.
Hey Ed, let's we've got a couple voicemails. So let's do a couple voicemails. It's time for your voicemail.
Hello.
Hey, Peter and Uncle Ed and all the great fans. It's Italia, one world, one goal. Well, we got a couple of defenders coming in, so Chris Henderson must be saying, hey, can you hear me now? So he must have heard the comments. People were having some blasphemy, whatever the word is, going against Henderson a little bit. So these trades look good. And I want to mention that, our aficionados were really the blueprint, along with Barra Brava and DC and ESC, Empire Supporter Club, and the Vikings, whatever, in New York Red Bulls, which was Metro Stars. So, as you know, we really need to get some kind of a ritual going, the traditions, and actually I had coordinated and talked to Charlotte that they should get Dale Jr. involved. We were doing all this cross-promotion. So they honored him this weekend with a crown, and, you walk up into the middle of the fans, and they have this big crown chair because Charlotte was named after the Queen of England, which, then became Charlottesville. And, of course we have British people down here, but we do have Cuban owners. So I think we should really do something with the Cuban coffee. We can have celebrities taking a sip of cappuccino, or we can also have bang the pots and pans, because I know the Greenlaw gang goes over and traditionally claps the team in, pregame. I never did anything like that because we were always out drinking beer in the parking lot, right, Uncle Ed? So let's see what we can do, guys. Ed, talk to the Southern Legion and Vice City and Siege and Rosa Negra and Black Herons United and come up with a good idea, because I would love to see us get something, on Apple there for our team ritual. Okay, love you guys. Love the show.
Yeah, that is something that's missing. Is I like the series, The Ritual, on the MLS Season Pass. We don't have one, but she's talking about almost kind of like fabricating something, because nothing has happened naturally. And some of the clubs, their rituals were really cool. Some of them were 100% just, hey, we march into the stadium. So it's like we do that too. Mm-hmm. So they just all it really needs to happen is Inter Miami has to give a damn and film something.
Well, I think she's got something right here. She's talking about the pots and pans.
Oh no, that would be cool, but nobody's doing that.
Nobody's been doing that. But that's something that it's very Miami. It happens a lot, when with all these the Cuban protests and all that at the Versailles where they have the cafecitos and stuff. So that's something that could be done. If the supporters think or the team thinks that's something that would be it is Miami. It is a Miami thing to do. So. But I can't think of anything else right now that's very Miami like that.
It has to happen, I guess. What I'm thinking is it just has to happen organically. I don't like for the club to pass down saying this is what you guys should do and we should call it our ritual. Now I know that's what some other MLS teams do. I mean, because it's some of it's very corporate, but I would like for it to be something natural. But if to her point, if we could get into the ears of the leaders of the supporters clubs and get them thinking about it, that could be good. But again, Inter Miami has to give a damn and actually film it. So anyways, let's go on to another voicemail here from a familiar voice from a long time ago.
Mi gente, it's your boy Yankee Yank from up in Maryland. First and foremost, my thoughts and prayers have been with everybody down there with the situation, with all the precipitation in Broward. Hoping everybody's loved ones safe, hopefully not too much damage, and y'all hang in there. Sliding to something much less important in life, let's talk about the big trade that y'all made. I understand why Duke got moved. The Lassiter thing, a little bit more confusing for me, but I know sometimes you got to sweeten the pot a little bit.
That's it.
Duke was basically told he's not going to be able to play one of his preferred positions with your club. It's just not in his future. So at first look, going from the Miami situation to Montreal, both players might be a bit disappointed, but I think in Duke's case, he should be the happier of the two. Both immediately got used. They both immediately have already put on that Montreal jersey. Lassiter might be a bit bigger of a cultural shift and a bump, but for me personally, Montreal is one of the most glorious cities in North America. I'm talking from Mexico to Canada. So we'll see what those guys do there. The coach of Montreal is on his way out. He has to be. This was a desperation move. I don't even understand why Montreal hired him as bad as he was with DC. And with Miller, you've got a guy who is playing because he wants a new contract. He wants to make a move to Europe. Arguably one of the better defenders in CONCACAF and arguably playing on the best CONCACAF national team side. So let's see where things go. But this indicates a pivot point for both clubs. Holler at you later, players.
Oh, yeah. Yankee boy knows what he's talking about.
He always does. And we talk about, a lot of people like to talk about Phil getting fired. That was our main topic last week. I think Hernan Losada might go before Phil. I just got a feeling because, they over, in Montreal, they got spoiled a little bit maybe with their last head coach. And now he's doing it again there and Nancy is doing it again in Columbus, doing real well. Right. And so Losada did not do well in DC. Surprised that he got this job. And I would imagine he's on a very short leash, shorter than Phil, because Phil at least has the whole kind of nepotism best friend thing that going for him. I would imagine this is, unless Duke can do some magic, this guy is probably on his way out.
Yeah, it's tough to say what I'm rooting for Ari Lassiter and for Duke, hoping they do well as long as they don't do well against us, man.
That's it. But all right, so wrapping up the show, I just thought we should look at what's coming up, because so we're in a 5-game losing streak. I think we might all agree that there's a good chance we lose in Houston. I mean, there's a good chance. I mean, you can't debate that there's a good chance. I think a win would be a tie, but realistically, could be another loss.
Right.
What would be more embarrassing is that Open Cup game that comes next here in Miami. If we lose that, that's more embarrassing. But sticking with MLS, after that, we go to Columbus. And Columbus is hitting on all cylinders. Again, they've got Wilfred Nancy. He's got that team performing very, very well. So they're going to be tough to beat. And then, we're welcoming in Atlanta, up and down. Maybe that's a win. And then, New England, Nashville. I mean, so the season, my point is, it's only getting harder. We potentially could be in a, 9-10 game losing streak.
Yeah, I don't know, Peter. It's not looking good for us. Hopefully, with the players that we've got, there's some magic to come back. I don't know if Mr. Glass will be back. Robinson.
No, he's never coming back.
No, he's never coming back. We need something. Something to tie in to the offense. Hoping that maybe Borgelin will be able to go in there with Campana. I think that would be interesting. We get 2 big guys up top. Use Borgelin maybe as the point man, and because I just think Campana probably has better control with the ball. But let's see what happens, man. There's we got Miller coming in, we got Arroyo coming in. Let's see if they start. All these people start, and we get something different going. It's surprise us, guys. Come on, get us some points. We need those points desperately.
Yeah. We have one last phone call that just came in. But before we get to that, Lost Day West Palm Beach says we can't lose if they can't score. Amazing defense with Miller. And I know I said Lamar before Kamal. I got it mixed up. It'll take me a little while to learn the guy's name. And Drake in the back snapping. We good, fam. Watch our forwards come back to life without the pressure of always being down 1 or 2. So let's hope Miller can be the answer to do some of that, create some of that relief. Here's the voicemail. Where's he been?
Good evening, everybody. How the hell are you doing today? It's America's favorite uncle, Uncle Ned. And you know what Uncle Ned says, boys and girls. Fam. Damn. So I wanted to say what's up to my 2 guys, Uncle Ed and Peter Brown, and to the room, Bruno, Italia, Jet Pancake, and my main man, Yankee Boy. Anyway, just wanted to touch on the trade today. Not today, but this past week. I look at it like this, man. Does it hurt? Are we gutted that we're getting rid of Bryce Duke? Yes. Lassiter, not so much, because Lassiter was underperforming. He's a great teammate, fast as hell, runs like the wind, but he cannot finish, guys. The guy can't finish. We really are just paying for Duke. So with that said, we are getting in return a guy who was part of the Canadian national team, a guy who once started off with Orlando, then went to Montreal, and actually started killing it with Montreal, and is considered one of the best center backs in all of Major League Soccer. And we didn't have to use international slot to get some guy overseas. And no disrespect to Dixon, to the guy from Ecuador, I think Dixon Reyes. No disrespect to him, but we don't have to give up much to acquire this guy, Kamal. And Kamal is only 25.
Yeah, he's
25. So we've got him for the rest of the year. And you know what? If he sucks, the way that his contract is that we have a team option for next year. So if we don't like him, we don't have to keep him. The real deal is we got $1.3 million in GAM. So that gives us tons of flexibility. So basically, they're giving you a guy who's part of the Canadian national team plus $1.3 million in GAM for Bryce Duke, who hasn't scored this year. I hate to say it, but even he's been underperforming. That's because Phil likes to play people out of position. So, I'm going to be keep an open eye. Hopefully we get some offensive players. You can't win, obviously, if you don't score. And right now, we ain't scoring. So hopefully we can get some offensive talent coming in that door. We definitely need a number 10 desperately. And sit Joseph Martinez down and start playing Borgelin. All right, fellas, I'm out. Love you guys. Peace.
Yeah, so back to that trade. I just look at it and I know Louis Rodriguez is doesn't like it in the chat. Several other people do like it. I think it's just good business. I think it was good business, freeing up a lot of extra space. They obviously have plans to spend some money in the summer, whether that's on Messi or whether that's on somebody else, whether that's on Busquets or somebody we haven't yet to hear about. They have plans. They are obviously looking at this team as it's incomplete. They know that. And how much time that buys Phil to me is the question. Does Phil, if they keep losing games, does Phil make it through the summer where, he has a chance to coach some potential new players? But I think it was good business at the end of the day. So we lose a player we like, but that's sports. So
that's what you're right. I hate to see Duke leave, but for the greater good, we want to bring in Messi, want to bring in Busquets. Hopefully it works out. All these reports, you can't say which way it's going, but if it works out for us, we're going to have the best player in the world, and Busquets considered the best number 8, I believe, right? He plays it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Peter Brown, just wanted to remind everybody tomorrow I'm going to do FMTV en tu idioma en español. I'm going to have John Lester Hidrobo. He's a journalist from Ecuador who knows all the lowdown on Dixon Arroyo. He's also probably going to talk about Campana. Does he like Campana? Does he think he's all hype? We'll talk to him about his injuries as well. We'll see what happens, and join me tomorrow en español en tu idioma.
All right. Should be fun. I'm looking for. I wish I could understand it, but you'll give us the cliff notes next week in English.
Well, there should be subtitles. I'm making sure that I'm always pressing on the subtitles.
All right. So that's good for those of us that don't speak español. No habla español. But should be fun. All right. So everybody, make sure you tune in on Monday and enjoy that. And if you haven't watched my unboxing of this here amazing gift, go do it. Go watch that. Go watch the unboxing. I think it's kind of funny. And it also teaches you where to get it. So also, just FYI, the next home game is the Publix t-shirt giveaway game. So they'll be giving away. You can pick up your box at the next home game, which is I think May 6th, and then you can also pick up a Publix t-shirt. So
nice. Well, I'm going to be there just because of that. I want my t-shirt.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for participating tonight. A lot of fun. You guys in the chat are awesome. Love the conversations we have and the conversations sometimes you guys have amongst yourselves. It's great. Thanks to Bruno Baltazar of Houston Dynamic Dynamo Podcast. He was a wealth of knowledge and an entertaining interview. So thanks so much to him. And everybody, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you tomorrow. In Spanish.
9 p.m.